So as you all heard the introduction about this video series, the first topic is importance of parents in the therapy. Rather, I would just say therapy for parents, because as much as the child needs the therapy, is the parents also who needs the therapy, and not just following our home programs or the activities that we provide, but in all the aspects. So let us consider the importance of involvement of parents, the kind of stimulation parents need to give the child, kind of expectations the parents need to have for the child. And as an SLP, we need to devote a ample amount of time every session just to make sure that you and parents are on the same page. It might so happen that parents are having under knowledge or over knowledge because they have read it on the internet or something like that, and the kind of expectations they have for their child is very different from what you are expecting from that child, depending on the child's caliber, different factors that you have considered. So it's important to have them with you on the same page. So let us start about talking right from the case history. So when you're taking the case history, the first and the most important point to be considered for this particular topic is that how is the way parent is talking to the child. So the manner of talking is very important. There is the concept of child directed speech, wherein you reduce the complexity of your language, you make your words simple, you keep the input short, you use a lot of intonation pattern, and all of this makes your child attract towards your speech. That's how motherese is important. You might come across parents who talk to their child just the way they would talk to an adult, and that's not how the child is going to take up language. The kind of language they are using is very complex for the child. At the same time, the intonation is so simple that it's not attractive towards for the child, and especially when you're dealing with autism spectrum disorder, because these are the individuals who always get attracted towards a sing-song manner or rhyme manner, and if the parent does not know the appropriate way of talking to the child probably is not even picking up one word out of their input. Secondly, the complexity in terms of the words they are using, the semantic features they are using, the syntactic length of the input. So basically, child is not even able to pick up one word from that, and you are expecting the child to follow a command which is around 6 to 7 words. So as simple as picking up the ball is the command the parent wants to give the child, and if you observe the parent, they might be telling him that go there and pick up the ball and get it back to me. This is too much for the child, because child does not know all this. All he is doing is following that visual command, and then maybe the parent might feel that my child follows it. This is how I tell him and he follows it, but they don't know that it's that gesture which is helping him. It's not any word out of your input that has helped him to do that command. It has to be as simple as picking up ball. Picking ball, two important words you want your child to focus, pick up, understand, associate that okay fine, she is expecting me to go there and pick up the ball. Go there, pick up the ball and come back to me. That's too much, and he doesn't even know that out of all of this, which word actually means that command. So the second thing, very important, length, kind of words used, and at the same time the speed at which it is delivered. You can't expect the child to follow an auditory command which is so fast. Child has an auditory processing speed which you need to gauge. As an SLP, you will come to know that every child has his or her own auditory processing speed. So if you go real fast with the child, it's not helping him. He is probably not even processing a part of it, and it's just the factor of either it's the redundancy that okay fine, there's a ball and what else can we expect me to do. He'll pick up and he'll give it to you, but it's not processing auditorily. Third thing is how much time is spent by the parent with the child. So for example, a parent might just turn up and tell you, during the case history that I work, my her father is also working, child is mostly with the grandfather and grandmother at home or with nanny. Now the major problem when it happens is that A, they don't get the kind of input they need, because no matter what, after a point you can't expect the grandparents to give him the kind of language which he or she must be needing. If at the same time child is having autism and he or she prefers to have food with the rhymes. Now we know as an SLP it is very important that he or she, if the child is wanting to have TV, that's the screen time, mobile, iPod, iPad, TV, anything, Parents are the ones who can understand the reason why we are saying a no. There are grandparents also. I'm not saying that they won't understand, but at the first thing you will definitely find is that grandparents are the one who will give it. So they give in for the demands. That's when the change starts. Next important point is the setting of expectations. Now more often than not you will see that you ask the parent that at home how is the child, like for example if he wants something, is there a need for him to ask, or is it that everything is around him, is it accessible and the child can just go and pick it up. Because if that is the way parents have organized his environment, he is never going to have any need for asking anything. He is never going to have any kind of communication intent developing. So that's one important point. Other than that, how much is the self-talk, parallel talk happening? Though we use the fancy terms like self-talk and parallel talk, but what does that actually mean? How much is the parent giving the child input, linguistic input, while he or she is in any action with him? I can do the game of ball throwing and catching without even saying a word, and the child might enjoy it as much as child would enjoy if I use the words. So why don't utilize that opportunity? Give him the right kind of words so that he starts associating. That's what is important. And the last and the most important point is, what are they expecting if the child is verbal or if the child is trying to talk. Now your expectation as a parent should be as simple as just a vocalization. If your child is non-verbal, if he is verbal, expecting him to say one word. Whatever level your child is, expect a level higher or that level. You cannot expect him to talk in sentences while he is not even saying a word. So there are parents who would just give their input as, in Marathi if I would just say, Didi mala ball de, where the child is not even at a verbal level. He is just non-verbal, he is trying to snatch everything. And you hold the child, you ask him to say, and when there are times when parents literally lose out of their frustration, and then there are other things which come into the picture, which is not ideal. Here it's not the child's fault, it's the fault of the parent. You are setting false expectation for yourself, and then you are expecting the child to fulfill your expectation, which is not possible. Child is experiencing failure at every step, and that is in turn making him feel like, you know what, even if I'm making some sound or anything, I'm not getting it. Why should I do? Instead, going and snatching is so much easier. All these things set into their mind, and when they come to us for therapy and we try to break these patterns, we have a tough time. So it's important at the outset of the assessment you know all these things, and accordingly you train the parent. Important point here is that involve them in your therapy, let them be there around you while the session is on. Try to keep them at a minimal, I would say, engagement when the therapy is going on, because you expect them to observe you. You are modeling it to them so that they can copy. Let them be in the session. They need to be there to observe you. But if the verbal engagement is too much, for example, if they are constantly nagging the child even in the session, for example, didila ball de, didila he de, didila te de, child is going to feel the same how he is feeling at home. It's pointless. So you need to be firm enough to tell the parent that, you know what, I want you to be in the room. If the child is having any behavioral problems also, and you know that these behavior problems are setting in because of some or the other random reason, there's no actual reason behind it, it's just a behavior that the child is showing, you tell the parent in advance that I don't want your engagement in any form, verbal, physical, or any form. It helps a lot, having the parent watch you, how you deal with the child, how you make sure that you manage that behavior without giving in to their demands. So for example, the first thing that the child would experience is resistance. The moment you expect the child to make some sound, to talk something which otherwise is fulfilled by the parents or everybody else at home without talking, of course he is going to resist. Of course he is not going to like it. He is going to cry, he is going to throw tantrum, he is going to just give it up. But what happens in the therapy session, if the parent is over involving, he will be like, okay, let's give it, let's do this, didila de, hey, and too much of thing happens. But that's the point when you take the charge of the situation. Make sure that the child understands that why she is stopping me. He has to form a pattern with you, a pattern that is very different from what their parents have taught him. He needs to understand that, okay, fine, if I make a sound from this area, that's when my demands get fulfilled. So I would say that it's as important to have them in the session as much as you have them quietly in the session if they're over involving. If they're not over involving and in fact they're helping you achieve your goals, it's very much useful. I mean, you can have wonderful session with the parents if they are having the kind of input the way you expect them to have it. Also, when you involve the parents, make sure that you give them very structured home program to follow. 3 words you have to practice at home, that's all I expect you to do. Give them very home relevant examples so that it's easier for them to do it, and then come back and tell me about it. Make sure that you have a follow up with parents, because if they are not accountable for any of the thing in the activity, in the therapy, it's very likely that they feel that okay fine, 45 minutes I give you and that's all that I do. So just make sure that you make them accountable as well. Also, one last point which is important is the behaviors that set in. Now, the previous example that I was talking about, that child will throw a tantrum. In child's head, there are 2 people in this room. One is a new person, that's the clinician. Other is the mother. Now he knows that for a fact, over the years, this person, the mother, has always given in, my demands. If I cry, if I point, if I just yell. At the same time, there's another person in the room expecting me to talk. So of course there is this contradictory thing happening, that there is one person asking me to talk and there is one person who doesn't want me to talk. Easier is to go to the person who doesn't want me to talk. You will see all the behaviors coming in when there are both of you in the room. Whereas when you are alone in the room, he knows that what are the expectations from you. He knows that this person is not going to give it to me until and unless I say it. So that's where this behaviors go down if the parent is not there. So now when you see a child, you need to gauge the situation. If you feel that this child is having too much of behaviors when the parent is around, and that's not his fault, it's the tendency that is developed in his mind that this person is the one who gives me. So of course he will go to that person in the therapy also, and you don't want him to constantly go to the mother and you need to pull him back and all that. Then in that case, take a call, ask the parent to step out of the room till the time child is settled with you. Put down your expectation, visually, verbally, however, but make it clear. We are using words, or we are talking, or you are asking, something you need to use. So he gets into the head that okay, these are the expectations with Didi. Then involve the mother. Make sure that at home she is following same expectation. That's when your progress and transition happens. I hope this video was somewhere useful, because involving of parent in the therapy is very important. They are the first role model, they are the first person to get in touch with your child, and if you want to see progress in your therapy, it's very important that they do what you expect them to do and in the manner that you expect them to do. They need to observe how you are giving the input. They need to understand that there is a reason behind it, there is a logic behind it, and then they try to copy you. Hope you all learned something new, and if it was useful, you liked it, do share in the comment section, and make sure that these points are considered while you are taking a patient. Bye.